Hey everybody, it's Chamber Matt from the South Kitsap Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to our 2023 general election candidate interviews. There are 9 races happening in the South Kitsap area, 5 for the city of Port Orchard, and 3 for the South Kitsap School Board, and 1 for South Kitsap Fire and Rescue. The South Kitsap School District will also have a capital bond on the ballot in November. As part of the series, we reached out to all 18 candidates several times to schedule an interview. All but 3 of the candidates responded. We asked all the candidates in each race the same questions, and none of the candidates had the questions in advance. I let the candidates answer the questions as best they could. I then spliced together the interviews so that you could have a side-by-side comparison. Big disclaimer here, I am not a professional editor. We did these interviews on Zoom, so please be patient with my editing. The Chamber will also be hosting an information forum for the school bond on October 11th at 5:30 p.m. upstairs at Whiskey Gulch, and a candidate meet and greet on October 26th, also at 5:30 at Whiskey Gulch. Come on out, meet the candidates, and hear about the school bond. Ballots should come out sometime around October 20th, and they are due back to the ballot box by November 7th. Thanks for watching. Remember to vote and make an informed decision. Hey everybody, it's Chamber Matt, and today I am meeting with Rob Patonsu, who is the current mayor for the city of Port Orchard, who is running for this is your 3rd term?
This will be my 3rd term as mayor after 2 terms as a city council member too.
All right, so Rob is a veteran to the city of Port Orchard and all the things that happen in and about Port Orchard. And so kind of some of the ground rules here is I'm simply going to ask you a question. Nobody's got the questions in advance, so nobody's is super primed on what the answers are, and I will cut back and forth between each of the candidates. Rob, welcome to the 2023 candidate interviews for the South Kitsap Chamber of Commerce, and we'll just kind of start off a little bit. We've already determined that you've been in city politics for a while, but what else can you tell us about yourself?
Well, Matt, I grew up here in the community. My family moved here in 1970, so I went to school here, grew up here, raised my family here. I worked in the banking industry for 30 years, and 20 of those was a community banker here in Port Orchard. Served a couple terms as a city council member, and the mayor job is a full-time commitment, and then some. And so I walked away from my career in banking, which I enjoyed a great deal. But this presented a new challenge. I felt when I ran for mayor the first time, we needed a vision, we needed direction. We'd been talking about the redevelopment of our downtown since I was a child. We've had all kinds of different plans that have been developed and put on shelves and never executed. And we're really realizing that and executing on our plan that we've created. And I'm very proud of that work. So proud of the things we're accomplishing, the amount of capital we're bringing in from outside agency and the private sector to redevelop our downtown. These are exciting times, and we're just getting going.
Chamberman, and I am joined here today by Rollins May, who is running for the city of Port Orchard. Mayor, welcome, Rollins. Thank you for joining me today.
Hey man, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So thank you for stepping up, and it takes a lot of courage just to put your name on the ballot. And so I want to thank you for that. And we've got 6 or 7 questions here that I want to run through with you. Let's get rolling.
Let's do it.
All right, outstanding. So the first question, the tough one, is just tell us about yourself, and why do you think you're qualified, or why should you be the mayor for the city of Port Orchard?
Well, a little background. I moved up here in 2005, drove across the country to come to this place. I met a woman, and men do what men do. Excuse me for that. Yeah. I get a little excited when I get to thinking about this place. But, I got here, and totally changed my life. I realized that the postcards do come to life. Being grown up in Louisiana, you see a place like this on the postcard, and then you move here, and then it's like, oh my God, like, yeah, this is awesome. I can do this. So moved up here, finished school, got a college degree, started working, and just loving this place. And here I am, 18 years later, wanting to do something else about it.
So, Rob, there's a lot of issues that face the community, face individuals, face government, whether it's federally, state, county, all the way down to city, the city issues. We've got increasing public safety issues. There's homelessness, affordable housing, infrastructure needs. We can throw on the increased development, which kind of seems, tied into infrastructure needs and affordable housing, and we got inflation, and there's just a ton of those different things. So the first question, based on kind of all that, is what do you think is the most important issue, the one thing, I don't know, that you get asked about or get hounded about or you're facing on a daily basis, and how do you intend to address those issues?
Great question, Matt. And you're correct. There are so many issues, but if I had to pick one as the top issue and what I hear the most from our citizens is traffic. And we're seeing unprecedented growth in our community. We've been discovered, and the traffic and that growth is related to that. It's a bit backwards how our state works as far as how we can fund transportation. There's some grants available out there, but they're really competitive and tough to get. So the tool that we have that the legislature has provided us is traffic impact fees. And we have one of the largest traffic impact fees in the county. And we charge a little over $5,000 per home for traffic impacts. And so we collect those dollars. So unfortunately, we need that growth to pay for the traffic capacity projects. Okay, so Bethel Corridor is a prime example. We've got a plan. This past year, the city council passed a 1/10 measure, and we're going to build a pair of roundabouts and a complete street between Blueberry and Salmonberry. We've got a project, another pair of roundabouts on Bethel going to construction next year that we were successful on with grants. So traffic is I would say the number one issue, and building road capacity so people can get to and from their jobs around the community to services. And we're addressing that head on. We've got a number of projects in the works, and we're planning for more.
All right. So, and it's not necessarily a follow-up question on that, but I want to ask you real quick on the 0.1% sales tax.
Mm-hmm.
Why did the city go that route?
Yes, great question, Matt. We've got 17,000 people that live in the city of Port Orchard, but more than 40,000 that live in South Kitsap. Okay. And if we would have asked for a property tax, then we're only taxing the 17,000 people that live in the city of Port Orchard. But by doing a 1/10 of 1% sales tax, which generates about $800,000 a year, the folks that shop in Port Orchard, which is primarily on the Bethel Corridor, that's everybody in South Kitsap. So everybody in South Kitsap is helping pay for these road improvements, which I think is a much fairer way to tackle these huge, capital projects.
Right. Yeah.
Tens of millions of dollars.
Yeah, that makes sense. The first real question that we have for you then is, it's not just in the city of Port Orchard, but it's kind of nationwide. We have homelessness, and we have increasing public safety issues. There's a lack of affordable housing, infrastructure needs, increased development, inflation. There's a whole slew of things that I haven't even mentioned, but and your answer could be none of the above, or this. But what do you think is probably one of the most important issues, or the most important issue facing the city of Port Orchard right now, and how would you deal with it?
Well, it's like a lot. It is a lot on the table that we have looking at, but honestly, I would say it is about our people. So addressing homelessness, and what we can do about it while we develop slowly but surely. I think working on the people is one of my most important, honestly, next to infrastructure and all the other things that you listed, because without the people, we have not a community. So I think that's where we need to start.
All right. So, and you mentioned, the people and the homelessness and the next step, the infrastructure. You mentioned infrastructure. So would you say that infrastructure is maybe the second most important issue facing it? And then probably at this point, how would you address the infrastructure needs for the city of Port Orchard?
Well, it's basically just like the same with our citizens and our people. We have to live in this area as well. So if we have bad construction, bad roads, buildings that's not being used, these places where it's basic manicure and taking care of the properties, just the basics. We drive on these roads every day, and you want to take a bumpy road to a new construction site. I think it's important that we make sure that we have a good backbone to stand on.
So, going to roll into question number two here, and for everybody watching, I'm going to bounce back and forth between candidates and stuff like that. But question number one is tied to question number two. You've addressed the number one issue, which is traffic. In your opinion, traffic is one of the biggest issues. So I'm going to go a little bit deeper now here. And what do you think is the second most important issue? And how would you deal with that?
Crime. And no doubt about it. And our police department has been dealt a little bit of an unfair hand by the legislature. They've passed some laws that don't allow them to pursue individuals, which is causing rapid growth and car theft. Somebody can steal property and flee in an automobile, whether it's stealing from a business or stealing a car, and our police officers aren't allowed to pursue. So we're seeing a lot more the criminal activity as a result of this because there's no consequences, or it's very difficult to create consequences. So what we can do is hire more police officers and try to be more proactive in our policing approach. We're seeing, speeding because, and just pretty much from a society, in our society, a disregard for the law, which is just so wrong and flawed on so many levels. But our police officers are doing the best that they can within the limits of the law. We are enforcing the laws that as where we can and how we can. And what we're doing at the city of Port Orchard is investing in our police department and adding more officers. We added 2 more officers this year, and we'll continue to add officers until we can make a difference, in this crime wave.
Moving on to the next question, and traffic is you mentioned is the number one issue, and so I got a statement here, and it kind of ties in with that traffic statement. But what do you say to this? We don't need any more apartments or housing developments in Port Orchard. How would you respond to that?
Well, whether you like it or not, our state has a law called the Growth Management Act, and cities are required to plan for and accept growth. And we can, if we don't plan for it and make it the way that we want to, it's going to happen to us anyhow. Okay, so I think it's important that we're proactive in our building standards, our design standards, so this growth happens the way we want it to happen in our community. There's a housing crisis, and we have developable land here in South Kitsap and in Port Orchard. And that's why, and we've been discovered that the passenger only ferry is an element to that. We've got, a lot of growth happening in McCormick communities. We've got people that with the passenger only ferry, if they only need to travel to the office a couple days a week, they've got a 15-minute drive to Southworth. They hop on a 25-minute boat to downtown Seattle. So we're very it's a very appealing place to live. The quality of life here is great, and we are required by law to plan for and accept this growth because we're a city. So places like Burley and Olalla can stay rural. Our state law says we have to do this, and we're growing faster than I'm comfortable with, but that's our reality. We have developable land, and we've been discovered, and we're trying to make our communities, these centers. We're going to see the village in McCormick Woods with some services so people can walk from their homes and don't have to get into their cars. That's what we have planned for the Ruby Creek area, where the transit park and ride lot's going to be. We want to see mixed use development there, and a walkable community, so that we can ride our bike and walk, and if we have to, get in our car. So we're planning for that growth because we have to.
So, Rob, what is a lot of people may not be familiar with Ruby Creek. What is Ruby Creek?
Ruby Creek is the area at Sedgwick and Sydney in the southwest corner of the city. There's next to by the Albertsons, so north of the Albertsons, heading down Sydney. On the right-hand side is a large undeveloped parcel. The Kitsap Transit is going to do a 200-car park and ride lot out there. And it is zoned, and they intend to create building pads for mixed-use development, which would be ground floor retail and housing up above it. And in that area of the city, we can go tall without blocking views. Now, whether the development community is ready to do those things is beyond the city's control, but we're planning for it. And that's what we envision for that area, is some dense development around a park and ride lot, and so that somebody could live there and maybe have fewer cars or no car, and get, because they've got a transit hub right next door, and they can get to the downtown or the ferry or walk to the grocery store, which is right up the street. So it's going to be a different something different than what we've had historically. And same way with McCormick Communities and the village that they're creating. It's going to have housing types that we haven't seen before. Cottage style, townhomes, a couple of little small apartment buildings. But that area has primarily been single family dwellings, and they're going to do some different product types there that'll address this missing middle. We got a lot of apartments, got a lot of single family dwellings, but that missing middle, that the duplex, the triplex, the townhome, we're not seeing a lot of that being developed, and they're going to create that. And the first area in our city where that's going to be created out there next to our park in what's called the Village in McCormick Woods.
All right, cool. Next question is what do you say to the statement, we don't need any more apartments or housing developments in Port Orchard?
To that statement, it comes with growth, right? So if you look at it from a growth standpoint, it goes back to our needs and infrastructure and the citizens, because with all the apartments and stuff coming, which means more people. So having said that, I would think that the apartment buildings and stuff would kind of be something that should be put on the back burner, because where are we going to put all these people, and is that housing going to be affordable enough for us to maintain?
Question number 4 is, what role does the city play in economic development, and how can the city help local small businesses become more successful in Port Orchard?
Get out of their way. I mean, I worked in banking and was a lender to small businesses for most of my career. So I understand the needs of small business. Our role in government is to provide the structure, provide the infrastructure, so that when you want to build that building, the proper zoning's in place, and that the sewer and the water The roads are there so that you can do that, and so that you can build that building that you want to house your small business in. So it's our role to create the framework and the infrastructure so that you can succeed, and then get out of your way.
What role does the city play in economic development, and how can the city help the local small businesses become more successful?
That's plain and simple. That's just more support, plain and simple. Show up, and whatever businesses need, I would definitely be on the needs of the business, because that's what it's all about. My background is in manager and supervisory, so you can't have we can't be in a good place if we're not being constructive or strategic in what we do. So having said that, also it's like that's where we need to start. Just
So,
with the
yeah, so I guess a follow-up to that being the Chamber of Commerce and obviously being more concerned about businesses and things like that, are there specific things or actions that the city should and could take to help local businesses?
Yeah, I think so. When it comes down to that, so the support factor would be with permitting, like if the buildings or if a business needs to have a permit signed off on, I think the city should jump on it. And I don't think that should be something that be pushed back, because I used to be a small business owner myself, and it is hard. Everybody knows that to get permitted and to be ran through the system before you can operate, it needs to be taken care of. That way we can operate and the economy could build, and it can gain a good momentum and build at a good pace that we can all be respectful about.
Next question is, what role should the mayor play in being both a community advocate and a city manager?
Good question, Matt. You need to be both, and I believe I am. I'm a past president of the Chamber of Commerce. I'm a past president of the South Kitsap Rotary Club. I'm very active from a community. I'm speaking to being a community activist here, and I'm part of an education foundation called the Kurt Wagner Education Fund. We raise money to help the students and the teachers of our school district. So I think it's really important that you're a cheerleader. As the mayor, you're a cheerleader for our community. And I've got a proven track record of doing that in the things that I do. Now, as the mayor, though, and Paulsbo and Port Orchard are examples where, and Bremerton too. So Kitsap County, as a rule, other than Bainbridge Island, we have what are called strong mayors, and we don't have a city manager. I am the elected city manager or administrator. So my day-to-day job is the oversight of the over 100 staff members that we have here. Now, I don't manage them, each one of them individually. I've got 6 directors but that is my primary job. I am the elected manager or administrator for the city of Port Orchard, and I take that very seriously. I think my finance background serves me very well in that area, but it's equally important that I'm an activist and I'm active in the community because I'm here to serve the community.
So the next question here, Rollins, is what role should the mayor play in being both a community advocate versus a city manager?
I think a little bit of both, because on a support factor, I also have a combat background. So in order to have a good structure and integrity, I think you should stick your nose out. We should be there anytime something happens. If it could be anything, if a business is celebrating an annual event, I think the mayor should be there. I was like, if the high school needs something, the mayor should be there. Like, and on top of that, that support comes when you show up. Like any business that need that support, I think the mayor should be there no matter what. If it's a startup business, a little mom and pop that need the support or the credentials or just the fact that the mayor is being there and it'd be important to their business, why not? That's my plan, to actually just be there as much as I can for each business and make it to where I know that they're there and the city knows that they're there also. And if it's a business that's struggling, it'll give them more publicity, which would give us more economical growth.
So the last question, maybe the most important question of the day for both for all the candidates that we're doing interviews with, is why do you think you're the best choice for mayor for the city of Port Orchard?
Well, I think it's pretty simple. It's my resume and my experience. You know, I worked in finance for many years early in my career. I've been an activist in this community, serving the community prior to being an elected official. Served a couple of years as a planning commissioner and got my feet wet a bit in local government. Served a couple of years as 2 terms, 16 years as a city council member. I've now served 16 years of our mayor as our mayor. But I see we're accomplishing so many exciting things now that many of these projects are generational and took years of planning and finding the funding to execute them and to make them happen. And we've been very successful in doing that. And I believe I'm very good at that in my connections that I've developed with outside agencies, whether it be the state, our federal partners. I'm past president of our Washington Association of Cities. I'm on the executive board at the Puget Sound Regional Council. So I'm very connected, and it enables me to bring in other people's money into our community, because the challenges we have are much bigger than the resources we have here in the city of Port Orchard. And to solve these big transportation issues or the sewer and water infrastructure to build that out on what we need other people's money. And over the last 8 years, and we've been very successful in doing that. It's how we funded the Tremont project. I cobbled together numerous funding sources, a $23 million project. Only $6 million of that is the city of Port Orchard's money. We got a $30 million community center coming. We're going to have about $5 million of Port Orchard's money in that. We've got a partnership with the library, the public facilities district, the legislature. They've all contributed to this. The roadway out front, Derek Kilmer, has been a great partner to me, and he's provided funding for the roadway. So I think I'm the best candidate because of my experience and my resume. And I feel that I'm very effective at this job, and we've got a lot more to do before I'm done.
So we're just about done here, Rollins. So the last question and is probably the most important question for you and for all of the people watching this and the citizens of Port Orchard is, why do you think you're the best choice for the mayor for the city of Port Orchard?
I would think I'm the best choice because, number one, I'm totally approachable. The second thing would be I'm strategic. I don't mind taking a hit. If it's anything that the citizens and the people need to say, I don't mind putting myself in front of a crowd and people so they can throw darts and throw spears. That's what it's all about, for us to gather and discuss what's important and what's not important. And I wouldn't mind putting myself out on the front line to see what it is actually that the people want, like be out in the public. That's my number one thing.
So to wrap things up, I just want to remind everybody that the election date is November 7th. Not that that means a whole lot, because the ballots actually come out. I think it's probably around October 20th. And, from that point on, you guys can go ahead and submit your ballots. And I would encourage everybody to submit their ballots as soon as they get them. A little unknown fact is that the sooner you submit your ballots, the less mail you get, the less propaganda that gets sent to you after you submitted your ballot. So, I would encourage everybody to get that in, make informed decisions. There are 9 races in South Kitsap altogether. The city of Port Orchard, I think there's 3 city council and the mayor position, right?
4.
4 city council and the mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, so there's 5 races in the city of Port Orchard, and then there's school district and fire district. So if you live in the county, you've got you've got 4 races. If you live in the city, you've got 9. I'm going to encourage everybody to listen to all of the videos, all the interviews, and again, make an informed decision when it does come time to vote. Mayor Rob, thank you for participating today, and good luck come November.
Thank you, Matt.